Mated to the Lycan king. Part 3. The morning sun spilled over the Lycan kingdom, bathing the grand halls of the palace in golden light. Raven stirred, warmth cocooning her as Lucian's strong arms remained wrapped around her. The events of the previous night flooded back. His touch, the way he'd claimed her, the way she had accepted him. Their bond was now sealed, and there was no turning back. Lucian's wolf purred in satisfaction, his grip tightening slightly. Mine, he murmured against her hair, inhaling her scent deeply. Raven blinked against the golden light, her body still humming from the overwhelming intimacy of the night before. She felt a slight soreness, a reminder of their passion, but beneath it all was an undeniable warmth. Safety. Belonging. She traced lazy patterns on Lucian's bare chest, her fingers tingling as she felt the steady beat of his heart beneath her touch. Lucian's grip tightened around her waist, his breath warm against her temple. "You're thinking too much," he murmured, voice rough with sleep. Raven hesitated before whispering, it still feels surreal. That this is real, that I belong here." Lucian pulled her even closer, his lips brushing the mark on her neck, sending a shiver down her spine. "You do belong here, Raven, and I'll remind you as many times as it takes." She let out a soft sigh, burying her face against his chest. "You already have." Lucian tilted her chin up, his stormy gray eyes meeting hers. "Then let me do it again." His lips captured hers in a slow, deep kiss, one that sent warmth pooling low in her stomach. A possessive growl rumbled in his chest, and his fingers traced the bare skin of her back, causing her to arch instinctively. A knock at the door interrupted them. "Your Majesty, Luna," came a voice from the other side. "The orphanage is waiting for your presence." Lucian exhaled sharply, pressing one last kiss to Raven's forehead before rolling onto his back. "I don't want to leave this bed," he muttered. Raven chuckled, propping herself up on her elbow. "Neither do I, but I suppose we have a kingdom to rule." He smirked, tracing a lazy finger along her arm. "I'll give you 5 more minutes, and then you'll owe me." She arched a brow. "Owe you what?" His gaze darkened, filled with promise. "You'll find out later." Raven could not wait to see Ella, knowing her friend had no idea about the monumental shift that had occurred. As she entered her Luna suite, she found Ella already there, lounging on the plush sofa, her bright eyes widening the moment she saw Raven. "You look different," Ella said, sitting up straight, her gaze sweeping over Raven with curiosity. "More radiant. More—" She trailed off, then gasped. "Wait a second. He marked you, didn't he?" A blush crept up Raven's cheeks, and she instinctively touched the fresh mark on her neck. "Yes," she admitted, her voice soft yet filled with meaning. "It happened last night." Ella let out an excited squeal, launching herself at Raven and pulling her into a tight hug. "Finally! I knew it would happen sooner or later." She pulled back, studying Raven's face. "How do you feel? Was it everything you imagined?" Raven let out a small laugh, sitting beside her. "More. It's like something inside me finally clicked into place. It's overwhelming, but in the best way possible." Ella grinned, nudging her playfully. "And Lucian? How's our oh-so-intimidating Lycan king handling being mated?" Raven rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. "Possessive, protective, and completely unwilling to let me leave the bed this morning." Ella laughed. "Sounds about right." Raven's smile faltered slightly as she exhaled. "But I can't just revel in this forever. There's so much happening today, and, well, I know not everyone in the pack is happy about me being here." Ella's expression darkened slightly, but she quickly shook her head. "Forget them. You're their queen now, whether they like it or not. And besides, I have a feeling you're about to prove them all wrong." Raven squeezed Ella's hand, grateful for her unwavering support. "I hope so, because I refuse to fail. Not now." Lucian was in an unusually good mood as he entered his office, a rare expression of contentment playing on his face. The moment he stepped inside, Darius, his ever-loyal beta, was already waiting for him, arms crossed and an amused smirk on his face. "You seem relaxed," Darius remarked, tilting his head. "Not something I'm used to seeing." Lucian exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck as he leaned against his desk. "Let's just say it was a long night," he muttered. Though the hint of satisfaction in his voice didn't go unnoticed, Darius chuckled. "I take it our Luna is now officially yours in every way." Lucian's gaze darkened with possessiveness. "She was always mine, but now there's no doubt in anyone's mind." Darius nodded approvingly. "Good, because the pack needs to see it, to feel it. The Luna ceremony will solidify her place among them." Lucian sighed, his expression hardening. "Not everyone will accept her right away, but they will learn. I need you to oversee the preparations for the ceremony. Everything needs to be perfect." Darius inclined his head. "Consider it done. But there's something else you should know." Lucian's relaxed demeanor shifted instantly, his instincts sharpening. "What is it?" Darius leaned forward. "Selene has vanished from sight, and I don't trust it. My spies report she has been making contact with the old alpha of Raven and Ella's pack." Lucian's jaw tightened, his wolf stirring with a growl. "Gregor, that bastard always saw Raven as a stain on his pack. If he's working with Selene..." Darius nodded. "Then we have a problem. I suspect she's feeding him ideas, twisting the truth, rallying him against Raven's rule." Lucian's fingers curled into a fist against his desk. "He won't get far. We've dealt with worse threats." Darius smirked. "Of course, but we'll need to stay ahead of them. I'll continue tracking their movements." Lucian's expression darkened. "Do that. And Darius, if Gregor or Selene makes a move before the ceremony, I want to know immediately." Darius bowed his head. "As always, my king." The kingdom was preparing for her official Luna ceremony. The pack was eager to celebrate, but she knew not everyone welcomed her with open arms. By the end of the week, the palace was filled with preparation. The great hall was decorated with banners of deep blue and silver, the colors of the Lycan royal house. Pack members gathered, eager to witness the coronation of their queen. Raven, now adorned in a flowing gown of midnight silk, sat beside Lucian at the high table, accepting well wishes and warm smiles. But far beyond the celebrations, Selene seethed with rage. She had barely contained her fury when she had heard the news. Raven had been marked. Lucian had made it official. Raven, a rogue, was now Luna. It was the final betrayal, the final nail in her coffin. She refused to accept it. Selene's travels led her through the dense forests to the outskirts of a familiar territory, the land of Raven's former pack. A twisted smile curled on her lips as she entered the stronghold of Alpha Gregor, the one man who hated Raven more than she did. "The rogue queen must be eliminated," Selene whispered, her voice like poisoned silk as she spoke to the brooding Alpha, his eyes dark with resentment. "I can help you take back control. Together, we can bring her downfall." Alpha Gregor narrowed his eyes, considering her words. He had despised Raven and Ella for surviving when their parents had been executed under his command. That a rogue now sat beside the Lycan king was an insult to everything he believed in. "I won't allow her to rule," he growled. "The other alphas will join me in this." Selene smirked. "Then it's time we prepare for war." Back in the Lycan kingdom, Darius had already begun his own investigation. He had his suspicions about Selene's next move, and had spies following her every step. The moment he caught wind of her meeting with Gregor, he knew war was inevitable. He immediately informed Lucian, whose eyes darkened with fury. "She won't get far," Lucian snarled. "She underestimates who she's dealing with." Just as Lucian and Raven prepared for the looming threat, an unexpected visitor arrived at the palace gates. The guards tensed as the scent of ancient power filled the air, and whispers spread quickly among the palace staff. An elder, cloaked in deep crimson, stepped forward with slow, deliberate steps, his silver eyes gleaming with both wisdom and sorrow. Lucian and Raven had been in the grand hall discussing preparations when a guard hurried in, bowing deeply. "Your Majesty, a visitor has arrived, a Lycan elder. He says he seeks the Lycan Luna." Lucian's protective instincts flared, his hand instinctively pressing against Raven's lower back. "A Lycan elder? From where?" "He claims to have traveled a great distance, Your Majesty. He says he brings urgent news." Raven exchanged a glance with Lucian before stepping forward. "Let him in." Moments later, the grand doors creaked open and the elder entered, his crimson cloak sweeping the marble floors. He exuded an aura of authority, of something old and powerful. His gaze landed on Raven, and a flicker of recognition passed through his ancient eyes. "I have come seeking the Lycan Luna," the elder announced, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. Raven felt an unexplainable pull toward him, something ancient and familiar. "I am Elder Thalos," he said, bowing his head. "I bring word of your past." The great hall fell silent. Lucian stepped forward protectively, his hand resting on Raven's lower back. "What do you mean?" he demanded. Thalos's eyes met Raven's. "You are not just a rogue who became a queen. You are the last heir of the ancient ruling Lycan bloodline. Your family, your true pack, was destroyed in a massacre, thought to have been lost forever. Until now." Raven's breath hitched, her mind reeling. My family? The kingdom that should have been yours was erased from history, and you were not the only one left behind." The elder stepped closer, his voice heavy with revelation. "You have a twin." Lucian's jaw tensed, his wolf stirring protectively. "Where is this twin?" Thalos sighed. "Lost, just like you were. But there are whispers, rumors. That one of your blood still walks this world. I made a promise to your parents before they passed, Luna. I swore to protect you and your twin, but fate had other plans. Now I offer my service to you as I once did to them, if you will have me. And I will not rest until your twin is found." Raven's breath caught in her throat, emotions warring within her. She glanced at Lucian, who gave her a firm nod of approval. Taking a steadying breath, she turned back to Thalos. "Then I accept." Raven's hands trembled, her heart pounding. She had spent her life believing she was alone, a rogue with no ties. But now, she had a family she never knew existed. Over the next few days, Thalos spent countless hours with Raven, guiding her through the rich history of her bloodline. He spoke of the lost Lycan kingdom, of its ancient rulers who were known for their unmatched strength and wisdom. He shared stories of her parents, their leadership, and their tragic downfall, painting a picture of a past she had never known. Raven soaked in every word, her heart swelling with both sorrow and determination. She was not just a rogue who had stumbled into power. She was born for it. With every lesson, her confidence grew, her purpose becoming clearer than ever before. Ella sat with Raven many nights, listening to the elder's tales with wide eyes. "I can't believe it," she whispered, shaking her head in awe. "You were meant for this all along, Raven. You didn't just survive, you are the legacy of a kingdom." Raven exhaled, gripping the old parchment in her hands. "It's a lot to take in," she admitted. "But if my parents fought for this kingdom, if they wanted my twin and me to rule one day, then I won't let their sacrifices be in vain." Ella grinned, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "That's the Raven I know. And just so you know, no matter what happens, I'll be right by your side." The time had come for her to step fully into her role. The night of the Luna ceremony arrived, and the palace was alight with torches, their golden flames illuminating the vast courtyard where the pack had gathered. The scent of fresh pine and blooming moonflowers filled the air as the pack stood in silent reverence. The ceremony was unlike any before, for not only did the entire Lycan kingdom bear witness, but all the alphas of the werewolf realm were in attendance. Among them stood Alpha Gregor, his expression unreadable as he watched Raven ascend to the position he had once condemned her unworthy of. At the center of it all, Raven stood in a stunning silver and midnight gown, her hair adorned with delicate gemstones that shimmered under the moonlight. The elders chanted ancient words, binding her officially as the Luna of the Lycan kingdom. Their voices carried across the night, weaving a sacred bond between her and her people, an unbreakable connection forged in fate and strength. As the ceremony proceeded, Thalos stepped forward, placing a gentle hand over Raven's. "Your parents would be proud of you, Luna," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "Their strength runs through your veins, and tonight, you step into the role you were born for." Lucian stood before her, his presence commanding yet filled with admiration. As he took her hands, the connection between them surged, strengthening with each vow they exchanged. The moment he placed the ceremonial crown upon her head, the pack erupted into a resounding howl, acknowledging her as their true queen. Raven lifted her chin, her eyes glowing with power. She was no longer just a survivor. She was their Luna, their ruler, their protector, and no one, not Celine, not Gregor, not anyone, would take that from her. The celebration carried on into the night, with the pack rejoicing in their Luna's ascension. The grand hall was alive with laughter, music, and the sounds of unity. But as the festivities continued, a sudden commotion arose near the banquet tables. A drunken voice cut through the joyous atmosphere, slurring with anger and resentment. "I will never accept a rogue as my Luna," Alpha Gregor bellowed, his face red with intoxication and rage. He staggered forward, knocking over a goblet of wine as he glared at Raven. "This is an insult to every true-born alpha in the sacred traditions of our kind." Silence fell over the hall. The murmurs of the gathered alphas rippled through the room, uncertainty thick in the air. Lucian's expression darkened instantly, his wolf bristling at the blatant disrespect toward his mate. Before he could step forward, Darius was already in motion, his stance firm as he placed himself between Gregor and Raven. "You will watch your tongue in the presence of your queen," Darius growled, his tone laced with warning, "or you will not have it much longer." Gregor scoffed, swaying slightly as he pointed a shaking finger at Raven. "She is not my queen. She is nothing but—" He never got to finish his sentence. With a blur of motion, Lucian had him by the throat, lifting him off the ground as his eyes glowed with lethal fury. "Say another word, and I will ensure you do not live to see the dawn," Lucian growled, his voice deadly calm. Gregor struggled, his bravado quickly fading as his face turned red. Lucian held him there for a moment longer before tossing him to the ground with effortless strength. "Take him away," he ordered coldly. Two guards immediately stepped forward, seizing Gregor by the arms. He snarled in protest but was in no position to resist. Darius leaned in close, his voice low and commanding. "Alpha Gregor, by order of the Lycan king, you are hereby banished from the royal packlands. Do not return." Gregor's eyes flickered with rage, but there was nothing left for him to do. As he was dragged from the hall, Lucian turned to the gathered alphas, his gaze sharp and unwavering. "If anyone else questions my mate, speak now." Silence. Then, one by one, the alphas bowed their heads in submission, acknowledging Raven's rightful place as their Luna. Lucian turned to Raven, his expression softening just slightly. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "You are mine, and I am yours. They will all see that soon enough." As the night drew to a close, Lucian led Raven back to their chambers, his hand never leaving hers. The moment the doors shut behind them, he pulled her into his embrace, inhaling deeply as if grounding himself in her presence. "Are you all right?" he murmured, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. Raven exhaled, allowing herself to lean into him. "I am. Tonight was overwhelming but necessary." Lucian nodded, his stormy gray eyes scanning her face for any trace of doubt. "You handled yourself perfectly." You belong here, Raven. No one, not Gregor, not Celine, not anyone, can take that from you. She tilted her head up, meeting his gaze. And you made sure of that? She whispered, warmth filling her chest. I never imagined someone would fight for me the way you do. His jaw clenched slightly, his grip on her waist tightening. I will always fight for you, protect you. No one will ever harm you, not while I breathe. A shiver ran down her spine at the conviction in his voice, and the bond between them pulsed, drawing them closer. Raven lifted a hand, tracing the strong line of his jaw before pressing a soft kiss to his lips. What started as gentle quickly ignited into something more as Lucian deepened the kiss, his hands roaming down her back before lifting her effortlessly into his arms. He carried her toward the bed, his lips never leaving hers. As he laid her down, his body hovering above her, Raven felt the full weight of their bond, intense, consuming, and utterly unbreakable. Her fingers traced the mark he'd given her, and Lucian let out a low growl, his wolf stirred by her touch. You're mine, Raven, he murmured against her skin, pressing kisses down her neck. And tonight, I will remind you of that. Raven exhaled slowly, squeezing back. No matter what challenges lay ahead, she would face them, as Luna of the Lycan kingdom. Alpha Gregor stormed into his pack's war chamber, his fury barely contained as his beta and trusted warriors stood at attention. The humiliation he had suffered at the Lycan kingdom would not be forgotten. He had been cast aside, his authority mocked, and worst of all, a rogue had been crowned Luna before his very eyes. His hands curled into fists as he slammed them against the heavy wooden table. They think they can disgrace me and get away with it, he snarled, his voice filled with venom. I will make them regret ever crossing me. A soft, sultry voice interrupted his rage. And that is why I'm here, Alpha. Celine purred as she stepped into the chamber, her gaze sharp and calculating. Dressed in a deep crimson gown, she exuded an aura of danger, her eyes gleaming with malice. Gregor scoffed, crossing his arms as he eyed her warily. And why should I trust you? You were Lucian's once. Now you come crawling to me? Celine's lips curled into a smirk as she moved closer. Lucian was a fool to choose that pathetic rogue over me, but I know his kingdom, his weaknesses. I know how to tear them apart from the inside. Gregor narrowed his eyes. You claim to have knowledge, then prove it. What is his weakness? Celine leaned in, her voice a whisper of deception. Raven. A slow, wicked grin spread across Gregor's face. Then we will strike where it hurts most, and when the time is right, the Lycan king will have no choice but to bow before me. Celine tilted her head, feigning innocence. Let me into their world again. Let me gather information from those still loyal to me. When the moment comes, we will destroy them from within. Gregor chuckled darkly, the thought of revenge fueling his rage. Then let us prepare. The war on the Lycan kingdom begins now. Raven and Ella met with Thalos the next day, eager to hear more about the pack Raven had never known. Thalos described the lands of the ancient Lycan bloodline, a breathtaking sanctuary far to the south, where the climate was warmer, and the lands flourished with tropical forests, crystal-clear rivers, and towering mountains that shimmered beneath the sun. The pack's stronghold had once been nestled between lush, fertile valleys, where golden fields of medicinal herbs and exotic flora grew in abundance. The villages had been prosperous, the people strong and united under the true Lycan rule. Raven listened intently, her chest tightening at the thought of a home she had never known. It sounds beautiful, she murmured, trying to imagine the place where she should have grown up. Thalos nodded solemnly. It was, and though much of it was lost, I believe there are still remnants of your people scattered across the lands. Your twin, wherever they are, carries the same blood, the same energy. You will be able to sense them, just as mates are drawn to one another. If we get close enough, the bond between you will react. Raven exhaled, determination setting in. Then we start searching. But where do we begin? Thalos pulled out an aged map, spreading it across the table. There were rumors of survivors who escaped into the deeper parts of the southern continent. We will need to track their movements and follow any leads. But finding your twin will not be easy. If they have been in hiding all these years, it's because they were forced to. Ella leaned forward, studying the map with narrowed eyes. Then we'll find them, no matter what it takes. Before they could continue, the doors to the chamber opened, and Lycan stepped in, his presence commanding as always. Darius followed closely behind, his gaze sharp and assessing. Lucian's eyes immediately found Raven's, his wolf restless. "What are you planning?" Raven hesitated before answering. "We're making plans to begin the search for my twin." Lucian's jaw tightened, but after a brief pause he exhaled. "Then I'm coming with you." Raven blinked. "Lycan." No arguments, he interrupted, his tone firm. "You are my mate, my Luna. You will not go on this journey without me. We will prepare for the journey, gather the right people, and leave in a few days. But I will not let you do this alone." Raven's lips parted, a mix of emotions swirling inside her. But as she met Lucian's unwavering gaze, she knew there was no point in arguing. He wouldn't leave her side. Not now, not ever. As the preparations came to an end, the group, accompanied by a small army, departed from the packlands and began their journey south, stopping at various packs along the way. Each visit was filled with hope. Yet with every pack they encountered, Raven's anticipation quickly turned to disappointment. Despite searching tirelessly, there was no trace of her twin. Each time they left a pack without any leads, she felt the weight of her expectations crumble, leaving an ache deep within her chest. Lycan remained by her side, sensing her growing frustration. During the quiet moments between their travels, he would pull her aside, holding her close. "We will find them, Raven. I promise you," he murmured against her hair one evening as they sat by a crackling fire under the vast starlit sky. Raven exhaled, pressing her forehead against his chest. "I just thought, I don't know, that maybe I'd feel them, that something would pull me in the right direction." Lycan gently tilted her chin up, brushing a soft kiss against her lips. "You will. The bond is there. It just hasn't awakened yet. But I believe in you, and I won't stop until we bring your twin home." Ella, ever the optimist, sat beside Raven as they rode through the rugged terrain, offering words of encouragement. "Maybe your twin is just as stubborn as you are and doesn't even realize you're looking for them," she teased, nudging Raven playfully. Raven huffed but managed a small smile. "Then I'll just have to be even more stubborn and find them first." As they traveled further south, the lands grew warmer, the air thick with the scent of blooming flowers and salt from distant shores. The dense forests and vibrant greenery reminded Raven of Thalos's descriptions of her ancestral lands. Every step forward felt like a step closer to the truth. And though the disappointment lingered, so did the determination to keep searching. Meanwhile, Alpha Gregory was tirelessly working to rally as many alphas as possible to his cause, seeking support for his impending war against the Lycan kingdom. He called secret meetings, enticing them with promises of power and a return to the old ways, where only those of noble blood could rule. However, not everything went as he had planned. Many alphas hesitated, casting doubtful glances at the reports of Raven's transformation. "You say she was a rogue, yet her wolf is unlike anything we have ever seen," one alpha remarked during a tense gathering. "That is not the form of a misplaced outcast. That is the form of something far greater." Another alpha nodded, his expression skeptical. "If she were truly unworthy, she would not have survived the shift, let alone commanded the respect of an entire kingdom. Perhaps she was never a rogue to begin with." Gregor's fists clenched under the table, his anger barely contained. "You are all cowards," he sneered. "Do you truly believe that a rogue, a girl who grew up in the gutters, is fit to be your queen? You sit here doubting my cause when that very woman threatens our way of life. If we allow her to rule, What next? Will we let other rogues claim alpha titles? Will we stand by as the balance of power crumbles? A murmur spread through the gathered alphas, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Gregory seized the moment, his voice dropping to a cunning whisper. I am not asking for blind loyalty. I am asking for warriors who will fight to preserve our traditions. And I have an informant inside the kingdom who will give us everything we need to bring them down from within. Celine, standing at Gregory's side, smirked, her eyes gleaming with malevolence. I know their weaknesses, she purred. I know where to strike. And when the time comes, they won't even see it coming. Some alphas still hesitated, but others began to nod. The seeds of war, taking root. Gregor leaned back, satisfaction curling in his chest. He would not stop until Raven and Lycan were brought to their knees. The war had begun. It was only a matter of time before the first strike was made. Raven and the group arrived at a pack where Thalos was well known, a place nestled between rolling hills and a vast river that shimmered under the warm southern sun. The people of the pack greeted them with respect, bowing deeply at the sight of the elder, recognizing his wisdom and status. Yet, as they exchanged formalities and walked through the bustling village, a strange sensation washed over Raven. Her wolf stirred restlessly within her, an unfamiliar pull tightening in her chest. Her breath hitched as she froze in place, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Someone, was close. Lycan noticed the shift in her posture immediately. Raven? What is it? He asked, stepping closer, his voice laced with concern. She didn't answer. Instead, she closed her eyes, focusing on the feeling. It was unlike anything she had experienced before, an echo of something familiar yet unknown. Her wolf growled lowly, an instinctual reaction she couldn't ignore. And then, she smelled it, a scent that was hers yet not hers, similar yet foreign, the kind of scent that made her stomach twist with unexplainable recognition. Her eyes snapped open, scanning the crowd frantically. I can feel them, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Thalos stepped forward, his expression filled with both urgency and hope. Your twin. You sense them, don't you? Raven's throat tightened, emotions overwhelming her. She nodded, barely able to find her voice. They're here. Somewhere. I need to find them. Without waiting for another word, she moved forward, pushing through the crowd, her breath shallow as the sensation grew stronger. Every step she took, the connection grew fiercer, more undeniable. And then she saw him. His name was Kieran. A young man stood at the edge of the village, his stance rigid as his piercing blue eyes locked onto hers. His dark hair, kissed by the sun, was tousled from travel, and the moment their gazes met, something inside Raven snapped into place. The world blurred around her. Her wolf howled in recognition and her breath caught in her throat. He mirrored her shock, his eyes widening, his body tensing as if he too could feel the invisible thread that had always tied them together. Raven? His voice was hoarse, filled with disbelief and something deeper, something raw. Tears welled in her eyes as she took an unsteady step forward. It's you, she choked out, barely able to breathe. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then, as if the years of separation had never existed, Raven surged forward, and so did he. They collided in an embrace, arms wrapping around each other as though afraid to let go. A sob tore from Raven's throat as she clutched onto him, feeling the undeniable truth in his touch. Her twin, her other half, the family she had thought lost forever. Lycan and the others stood back, watching the emotional reunion unfold. Even the mighty Alpha King found himself affected by the rawness of the moment, his protective instincts wanting to pull Raven close, but knowing she needed this missing piece of her identity. Thalos watched them with pride, his voice thick with emotion as he murmured, "The bloodline is whole once more. The true heirs have reunited." Raven and Kieran spent hours talking, learning about each other's lives, the years they had lost, and the paths that had led them to this moment. There was so much to catch up on, so many questions that had no easy answers. Despite the time and distance that had separated them, their bond was undeniable, an instinctual connection that neither of them could explain but both could feel deep in their bones. The alpha of the pack, a loyal and wise leader, observed the reunion with quiet understanding. He had long known that Raven's twin was an alpha in his own right, but he never challenged it, recognizing the strength in their bloodline. He bowed his head in respect, acknowledging their rightful place among the Lycans. "The two of you together hold a power that few will understand," he murmured. "It is not only in your lineage, but in your very souls. You were meant to find each other again." Thalos sat with them by the fire that evening, explaining the unique abilities that came with their ancient bloodline. "Twins of the true Lycan blood have always possessed something rare," he said, his voice filled with reverence. "Your connection is not just familial, it is supernatural. Together you will be able to sense and communicate with one another over great distances, share strength in battle, and channel abilities beyond even the strongest of Lycans. It is a gift, but also a responsibility." He paused, his gaze settling on Raven and Kieran. "But there is more. Legends speak of a power that only emerges when the twins fight side by side, a force that can tip the balance of war. No one knows exactly what it will be, but if the old stories are true, you both carry something far greater than simple strength." Raven and Kieran exchanged a look, their fates intertwining even deeper than they had imagined. "Then we'll need to train harder than ever," Kieran said firmly. "We have to be ready." Lycan, who had been watching silently, finally stepped forward, his gaze unwavering as he looked at Raven. "Then we start preparations immediately. We will not leave you to face this alone. We'll train together, and when the time comes, we will face whatever challenges lie ahead. Together." Raven and Kieran exchanged a look, the weight of Thalos's words settling over them. "We'll need to train," her twin said firmly. "If we are to protect our people, we need to understand what we are truly capable of." Lycan, who had been watching silently, finally stepped forward, his gaze unwavering as he looked at Raven. "Then we start preparations immediately," he said. "We will not leave you to face this alone. We'll train together, and when the time comes, we will face whatever challenges lie ahead. Together." He then turned to Kieran, his gaze steady. "You should come with us. The Lycan Kingdom is your home too, and we will need to prepare together for what is coming." Kieran hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "If my sister is returning to her rightful place, then so am I." Lycan offered a nod of approval. "Then it's settled. We leave at first light." With that decision made, the group prepared for their return journey. As they rode through the vast landscapes, Raven found herself lost in thought. The weight of the past few days pressed upon her, reuniting with Kieran, uncovering the truth of her lineage and the looming threats ahead. Relief flooded her veins at the thought of not being alone in this journey anymore. But a small thread of anxiety lingered. What if Kieran struggled to adjust? What if war arrived sooner than they could prepare? She stole a glance at her twin, who rode beside her with quiet determination, and knew they would face it together. No matter what came next, she was no longer just fighting for herself. She was fighting for her family, her pack, and her kingdom. With Kieran by her side and Lycan unwavering in his support, she knew she was ready for whatever lay ahead.